Hi, I'm Oli.
Hi, I'm Rob.
And this is a comic strip AP of Dungeon World, featuring the sorry tale of Alford Soultaker. When we last saw Alford, he had just caught up with and brutally murdered Jorek Lysmith, who had stolen his sword Wormblight and was planning to blackmail him with some sort of hidden knowledge.
The war is far behind us, yet conflict never seems distant to me. The first uprising in Frostbreach is fueled by resentment and liquor. Some of the more foolish townsfolk break into the garrison's supplies and steal what remains of the bitter whiskey we carried with us. That attempt to wrest control is put down with a finality that belies the resentment the troops themselves feel. Alderman ceremonially renames each mutineer a whispered name in the ear, heard only by criminal and hangman seconds before the drop. It appears the governor is one for tradition and for discipline, but also control above all things. Something about this unruly behavior shakes him, however, and eventually he realizes he cannot simply dominate such a rabble forever. He will need the assistance of some of the more capable of us if he is to maintain the control he desires. The threat to my carefully cultivated secrecy is huge, but it's almost worth it to see the look on Alderman's face as he asks me, the Soultaker, for help. My name is Alford Soultaker. I am more than just a monster hunter.
You open your eyes. You find yourself in the dim morning light of your cabin. It's warmer than when you've been used to waking up recently. You're back in Frostbreach proper itself.
Okay.
It's not pleasant. It's not a great place to be, but it's a hell of a lot better than just waking up in a pile of twigs in the snow somewhere.
And at the end of the day, it's been my home for a few months now, and I have made it my own.
That's true. How long have you been here?
I think we've been here for about 9 or 10 months.
Okay.
Not quite long enough to work out the seasons, but we're getting there. Well, Alford opens his eyes. They flicker open quickly, and he stares at the roof, having been torn out of the most bittersweet of his nightmares, which is the most special memories of his wife and children, which are the most precious things to him. He almost feels good when he has these dreams, if it weren't for the fact he wakes from them every time with the sounds of their tears and screams ringing in his ears. And it strikes him, as it does every time, he will never see them again.
As you're kind of shaking that memory away, coming out of the fog of sleep, there's a boom, boom, boom on the door. Get your ass up, soldier. Time for work.
Alford runs his fingers through his hair, pushing the fringe out of his eyes, groans, bends down, feeling the creak and the pull of the muscles in his back, and he reaches under the bed to where he finds Wormblight. I hope
he does,
this time.
For once. Actually,
Hallelujah.
For once, the goddamn sword is exactly where you expect it to be.
He draws it out from under the bed and rests it beside him.
As you pick it up, all of the other sounds around you kind of drop away, and you can kind of hear this raising whisper. And you can't quite make out what it is, and then there's another boom on the door. I said get up!
He lifts up the heavy bar from across the door, throws it to one side, pulls the door open. He's topless, and he just casts Helda a grumpy look, and just mumbles a greeting, which doesn't sound like words, just sounds, yeah, Helda, yeah.
Helda's already walking away from you as you kind of mumble your very vague greeting that morning. She's been very cold with you since. I mean,
sure.
She's never been the friendliest of your compatriots, but she's been very cold with you since you got back from the Ankeg nest. You get the impression that she's looking over her shoulder, and you sort of can't blame her.
No, absolutely not. Okay, he just raises his voice. Another fine morning in Frostbreach.
She calls back at you. New arrivals.
From where?
Didn't say. Alderman's calling us all to assembly.
Okay, slam the door, suddenly a little bit more alert, and just dash back into the room, start grasping at clothing, pulling on well-trodden boots, slinging on the scale mail, tightening my belt, bandolier on, and out we go into the sunshine. It is a brisk, bitter day.
Okay, what does Frostbreach look like?
Right, Frostbreach is all very freshly built. We're on the edge of a very dark pine forest, and all of the buildings are built from the felled trees of the pine forest. Not without some skill. Some of the people who are exiled to Frostbreach carry some carpentry skills and woodworking skills with them, and they've been put to work by aldermen. So they are surprisingly solid, surprisingly spacious, because space is not an issue, but they have a certain sort of ramshackle sense of fragility to them because they were put up so hastily. And on the periphery of Frostbreach, there are just huts that get knocked down by a bear here or just a terrible blizzard there, and people are constantly moving to new properties which are springing up. Okay.
As you go out into Frostbreach, in the main sort of circle of it, surrounded by these giant trunk palisades that they've built all around it, through the gates is coming a line of people, and you recognise them as more convicts that have been sent your way. They're chained, surrounded by soldiers, that sort of thing.
Fresh soldiers?
Yeah, fresh soldiers.
Ooh.
However, at the back of this parade of filth and scum and villainy, there's a really fancy carriage coming. We're talking sort of like, not the sort of nags that you've been expected traipsing through the wilderness for months on end and are sort of like basically skeletons with hooves.
Yes.
What you've got instead is these grand mares dragging this royal looking carriage. You've got red velvet curtains, you've got gold filigree along it.
Any insignia, any crests, any sort of... Do I recognise the uniform of the guard?
Let's roll discern realities for that.
Well, wisdom's +1, so I get what I always get. I get a 7.
Okay, so you get to ask me one question from the list.
Ollie, what should I be on the lookout for here?
This is not just a royal crest that you see on the side there. This is the crest of the Royal Inquisitor. This is the King's own man who is sent out on the most important of missions. The red right hand of the royal family is how he's known.
It is, in terms of Frostbreach, a bright, brisk day with beating sun and a sense of mild warmth on the skin. But a chill sense runs up and down the length of Alford's spine, and on realising what this carriage could imply, he just takes a step backwards and eases into the lee of a nearby shack.
The carriage pulls to a halt, and a little way off, the rest of the parade of criminals are dragged off, and out of the carriage gets a man in a long black leather coat, wide-brimmed black leather hat, and makes his way up the rickety staircase towards Alderman's platform. Governor Alderman has a office from which he oversees the rest of the prison. It's literally built up into the air. Stairs surrounding the largest of the trees which you could find in the forest. What are you doing right now?
I'm going to cast my eyes around, see if there's anyone I know who has a reputation for knowing things.
Okay, so yes, nearby, in addition to bringing in prisoners and whoever the hell this guy is, the parade has also brought in supplies. So there you see Venombearer McKee. He's one of the cooks at Frostbreach, which is a risky business given that he's there for poisoning his wife. He's there collecting supplies. He is the sort of guy who knows things.
I will saunter up when I choose the opportune moment, hopefully away from the watchful eyes of the guard, who are presumably supervising the unloading of all this new equipment and provisions, which is, by the way, a very welcome sight, if a conflicted one.
This is the first delivery of new stuff you've had in the 10 months that you've been here.
And we weren't expecting it, perhaps more importantly. So this presents a slightly unusual and slightly concerning precedent. We thought, as much as exile meant no going back, we also thought it meant isolation.
Yes, you also thought it meant
being
actually
left alone, absolutely. And this opens up the certain possibility that there might be, if there's a link one way, who's to say there isn't plans for a link back the other way too?
And
mixed feelings.
As you think that, you can kind of hear the sound all drops out again. All of the stomping on the snow drops out, and the neighing of the horses drops out, and you can kind of see them still neighing silently, and you can hear that.
McKee turns to face me, and sees a man reaching out to pat him on the shoulder, but paused almost in time with a vacant look on his face, very white, very pale.
You right there, Soultaker?
Yeah, I shake it from my mind, stamp my leg slightly as if trying to jolt myself back to reality, and give him a smile, a bright smile. Venombearer.
Too much grog last night, is it?
Yeah, I'm a big drinker. You ever see me drink?
Not as I can recall, actually.
I wouldn't be taking out no drinks when you're around, mate.
That is only sensible.
What's this all about then, McKee? Who are these? Where'd they come from? Did you know anything about this?
Come from the south. No further north to come from. But yes, I knew they'd come in. Why'd you ask?
I just think of myself as a man with the ear to the ground, but I had no idea this was coming.
Well, you've been out hunting giant ants for these last few weeks, haven't you? There's always more filth to come up from the south. Brought someone with them, though, haven't they?
Yeah. Is that the Red Hand?
Well, I wouldn't call him that to his face, but yes, I believe it is. Yeah, that's Inquisitore Breene. I wonder what he could possibly be doing in a place already full of guilty men. Helda says from behind you. The governor wants a word.
What, turn around and just raise an eyebrow and wordlessly pat my chest, mouthing, me?
Well, of course with you.
Well, I bow and sweep an arm with my cape and just say, then lead the way, O Gamethief.
I'm sure you can find out yourself. Some of us have work to do. There's an owlbear out in the forest. Needs killing. I'm going to go do that. You go talk with the governor. Make nice. Have tea. I'll see you soon.
Watch your back out there, Gamethief. People coming to a sticky end out there. Those that ain't careful.
She glares at you. She just gives you her Helda glare. She knows exactly what you mean, and she trumps off.
Okay. I just turn back to McKee, just grab him by the shoulder, sneak some coin into his palm as if shaking hands, and just say, why don't you, let me know if anything important's said in there about anyone in good company. I turn to Alderman's dwelling, steel myself, and stride straight towards the steps past the guard.
Yep, they let you straight in. There, sitting behind his desk, although you wouldn't necessarily know he was sitting because he's so impossibly tall, is Alderman, his hair immaculately braided as always. Standing behind the desk is Inquisitore Breene. Alford, isn't it? Smiles the Inquisitor.
That's me. And you are?
I think you know very well who I am, boy. Your governor here suggested that we have a little word.
He's topless from the waist up. Topless from the waist up?
That's where I like to be topless.
He's got a topless hat on.
I'm topless from the waist down, but you can't
That's
see it.
amazing.
That's quite cool. Thank you.
That's
There was absolutely no tops on my legs at all.
Hi, this is Jason from The Gauntlet. If you enjoyed this episode of Comic Strip AP, be sure to check out our YouTube channel. We have many other Comic Strip AP shows available, each organized in their own sequential playlist for easy listening. Just go to youtube.com and search for Gauntlet RPG.